Hello and welcome back. Now, nearly a third of today's professional footballers are black, but it wasn't always like that.
For those who came before today's stars, like Daniel Sturridge or Marcus Rashford, racism was often their toughest opponent. In the 1970s, it was part of life both on and off the football pitch.
Well, broadcaster and lifelong West Bromwich Albion fan Adrian Childs has been looking at the subject, morning to you, for a documentary which is fascinating. We're just going to have a little look right now.
When did you see the red mist over monkey chant, a banana being thrown, whatever horrors you had to go through? How did you deal with it? Did you ignore it? Could you hear it?
You know the funny? Yes. When I'm on the pitch, when I was on the pitch, I heard everything.
You heard every chant, and every racial chant you definitely heard. Sometimes, when I was getting the abuse, I felt isolated in so much as the opposition players would be giving me stick. But my teammates were laughing.
I was at Leicester City, and the Leicester fans were racially abusing other black players. I cannot, for the life of me, see how they can racially abuse other players and it not affect me. And I remember the manager had a dig at me. Oh, Bob, they're just very small-minded people. Ignore them. I said, you ignore them, yeah? Because you can ignore them. But I says, me, I'm out there, I feel it. You can see I'm getting a little bit worked up now, can't you? But that's how I felt about it. I felt completely let down by them.
There's some really powerful interviews in the piece. And I suppose the pin for the documentary is this match that takes place in the late 1970s, which is white players taking on black players, which just seems absolutely mad now in 2016.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's an extraordinary thing. But what's extraordinary about it is then, I think, and I've done plenty of research and spoken to loads of people, I think it was felt to be progressive somehow. But, you know, the world moved on. But in that context, amidst all that kind of racial hatred, the few black players who were playing the game at the time in this country, in that context of all the racial hatred they were getting, you know, a bit of bad, something not being in the best possible taste, like a black versus white match, was, you know, what wasn't something to fuss about. They were very proud of it. And interestingly, the white players who played in that game can't really remember it. Someone said, I think I played. I don't know, it was kind of just another game. For them, it was massive. They all said about the dressing room. Don't forget, all their lives, they'd always been in a minority in the dressing room, one or two of them in the dressing room. Now they had a dressing room all of their own. You know, they've all told me how special.
In our Black 11, we're all about proving they had the talent and just about the numbers to play in the white man's game. There were legends like Cyril and Brendan and Bob and George, Remy Moses, who went on to play for Manchester United, Garth Crooks too. Others weren't so well known. Stuart Phillips was at Hereford United. Ian Benjamin went on to play for Northampton Town. And there was a small, timid-looking left-back from the Albion's reserves I must confess I'd never come across until now.
Though I'm always fascinated about the views of the famous players and what they remember of that game, this guy has really captured my imagination now, the so-called fourth degree. His name's Vernon Hodgson. Just kind of a bit part player, basically a reserve player. Career didn't go anywhere. And I've heard that he's been a bin man all his life, 30 or more years since this game. So I'd absolutely love to track him down.
And I didn't have to go far to find him. Hard at work on the industrial estates around West Bromwich.
Vernon, is it you?
Yes.
It's Vernon.
Hello.
Did you play for the Albion by any
Yes, I
chance?
did, yes.
Amazing. The fourth degree, are you the man?
Yes, I'm the fourth degree.
And did you play in the black versus white Lencantello testimonial?
I come on for 20 minutes in that. I had 20 minutes in that.
We head to Vernon's sister's hairdressing salon around the corner in Tipton.
So who spotted you? Where did your football career begin?
Birmingham City, chief scout for Birmingham City in 1974.
How old were you then?
About 14, 15. I was the first black professional at Birmingham City.
What was the atmosphere like in the dressing room when you had a black player for the first time and yourself? What was the reaction?
Well, it was almost like you get a minute's silence when you first walk in. And when I first started for the reserves, remember the coach jumping up and down. I thought, what's happening? I remember him going, leave him alone, he's only bloody 16, give the lad a chance. And then I listened to what they were saying, and they were shouting, we don't want a wog playing for us, blah, blah, blah. But by the end of that game, I had people coming up and shaking my hand. They liked me in the end.
Well, it's almost heartwarming, but it would be a nicer story if they weren't calling you a wog in the first place.
Vernon's from West Bromwich. Signed by Birmingham City, he was promisingly talented. But he did his knee in when he was 17, which at that time more or less meant your career was over. After a brief spell at Lincoln, Ron Atkinson gave him a trial at the Albion, right at the time of Len Cantello's testimonial.
So what do you remember of the black versus white game? You were playing alongside the superstars then?
Yeah. I thought, my God, it was groundbreaking. I can remember having a laugh with Cyril and all them. We was all joking about, like, when we were on about passing the ball, we'll shout for the ball in Jamaican, you know, and Potter and all that. Really joked about that.
So I've got this this picture of you. Here you are. I just want to give you a hug for some reason. You look a bit lost and nervous, just sort of staring down here.
Gosh, I think I was worrying about my knee. A lot of times back then when I played in the reserves, it might sound sad now, but I'd have a drink at the night time to try and forget the niggle in my leg at the morning when I'm playing in the reserves. But it never went away. It just grinded and grinded, till in the end, I felt like I wanted my leg off from the knee down.
Really?
Seriously,
Is that
yeah.
painful? So what on earth is it like to have tasted being a professional footballer and then your career knackered?
Nightmares for the rest of your life every so often. Well, wake up and think I've got training today.
Really?
Never goes from you, never goes from you.
So you've had a life's work on the bins and you seem very happy with it.
Well, as soon as football was over, I turned into like a town drunk. I drank a lot, really lot. A lot of people would give me till I was 27 and I'd be dead.
So what got you out of that?
I'd say the bins. Yeah, changed my life. My job has, definitely.
The black players of the 70s, legends and unknowns alike, were pioneers. They forced the door ajar for the likes of Ian Wright and Dion Dublin in the 90s, with anger to burn, to kick that door right down.
So what's your response when you say that, 1979?
Unbelievable.
Hairstyles,
yeah.
afros.
You know, you're a teenager in the 70s. What did watching the 3 Degrees sort of mean to you?
Well, it was simply inspiring. And Cyril Regis was the one because of the goal he scored that used to start match of the day, remember?
Yeah, turn just pinged it, didn't he?
Yeah, smashed it.
You heard him hit the ball, strike the ball.
Piece of control by Regis. Oh, and what a great shot! Oh, one of the goals of the season. Cyril Regis.
Laurie Cunningham got his second with this header from a corner. 4-0.
I think with Laurie, man, this guy is one of the best I've ever seen in respects of left foot, right foot pace.
Still with Cunningham. Oh, he did so well there.
My team was West Brom, only because of the 3 Degrees. We're opening new doors for black players, black people, to try something new. If he can do it, I'm going to have a go.
From Cyril Regis.
To see Cyril and then Laurie Cunningham, Brendan Batson, see them get through, you know that it can be done. You know, it's hard, but you knew that there was people that were exception to the rule. If you're good enough, you can get there as hard as it is.
The players I've talked to from that era are different to you two. I mean, famously, you know, Cyril, there's a load of bananas thrown on the pitch. Cyril picked one up and ate one. Now, in a million years, I can't imagine you doing that.
I came rough and raw. I was still fighting in car parks. That's 19, 20, 21 before I got to Palace. And then all of a sudden, I've gone from a builder to a professional footballer and get the ball for a throw-in and that. And you're getting vitriol abuse there to here. And you know what I mean? You think to yourself, if I ever see, you know what I mean? You think that's what I'm thinking. You know, whereas Cyril and all of them lot, it was literally like a Martin Luther King, you know, turn the other cheek.
Okay, but you're not Martin Luther King then?
No, I'm Malcolm X. I was Malcolm X them times, but you know what I mean? I didn't want that to happen to me. I didn't want that.
Ian and Dion's generation marked the transition from black footballers being a shining, if beleaguered minority, to an era when they are merely the norm. In 1993, Kick It Out was started to try to tackle racism in football. That year, Paul Ince became the first black player to captain England. By the turn of the century, around 10% of professional footballers in England were black, and black culture became a big part of the game. A far cry from 1979 when the FA told Bob Hazel, no, you can't have dreadlocks. Now, as the most marketable man on the planet showed, you could do what you like with your hair, whatever colour you were. So what about sort of culturally? I imagine the white players of that era listened to Elton John and Billy Joel and Neil Diamond and stuff like that. I mean, what were you listening to? Did you change anything?
It's going to the Wag, it's going to Crazy Larry's, Browns, it's listening to soul and funk.
But were you bringing the white boys with you? Or
See,
were they thinking, turn that racket up?
They were following our lead. They'd be going, oh, what's this rubbish, what's this rubbish? And then when you get in their car to go to training, they're playing that rubbish in their car.
So culturally, you brought new music into the dressing room. What about goal celebrations?
Well, to be honest, you know what? I think Shearer, Al, he copied one of my celebrations.
How did that celebration go?
I done a bowl. I scored a goal and done this dance, the bowl dance.
Oh, that's good.
You know, you've got to start. And I saw Al score a goal where he'd done something where it wasn't his normal 5-finger right arm up bent like this.
Yeah.
He'd done something like.
And
He done it, yeah, I saw it.
He tried to copy you.
When I saw it, I was laughing. It's only the other day I was asking, I'm sure I said, Al, I saw you do a celebration. Did you do it?
Does he remember that?
No, I didn't.
Of course he'll remember it.
He's right.
Today, around 30% of professional footballers in Britain are black. Many of them are among the brightest stars in the game's galaxy. As for racist chanting, if it happens now, it tends to make national, even international news. So, problem solved. Or perhaps not. Jason Roberts is Cyril Regis' nephew. Racism sorted, job done. Not for Jason, not a bit of it. So when you started playing, the days of monkey chanting were long gone. When did you first come across blatant racism?
The referee has clearly brought things to a halt here. We had fears of incidences of racist abuse.
We thought it was important that we'd heard it, that the protocols had been followed, and if it happened again, we would have then perhaps moved on to the next step and come off the pitch.
I discussed with all of the players and the substitutes that everybody was on board. We knew that if anything happened in the second half, we were off. The referee had said the same, and we knew that if we came off, we probably wouldn't be going back on.
What a disappointing night. I mean, it's probably one of the most appalling nights I've seen in football.
Last night's incidents during the Bulgaria versus England game have been called the worst racist behaviour ever seen from a group of supporters by the UK police.